Right now, while you are watching this, your body is running a calculation you never asked it to run. It is not calculating your macros. It is not reviewing your last workout. It is doing something far older, far more wired into your survival code than any fitness metric you have ever tracked. It is checking one signal, one ancient alarm that has been firing in the human body for 200,000 years. And that signal is brutally simple. Are you moving right now, or are you prey? Because here is what 2026 biometric data is now confirming, and I want you to sit with this for a moment, pun fully intended, because this data should change how you think about your entire day. 8 hours of sitting does not just cancel out 1 hour of exercise. It actively dismantles the metabolic machinery your workout was trying to build. Not slowly, not gradually. It starts the moment you sit down. The hour you spent grinding before sunrise, the discipline, the sacrifice, the sweat. Your chair is undoing it molecule by molecule, enzyme by enzyme, right now. And I'm not talking about a long-term risk that shows up at 70. I'm talking about processes that shut down inside your body within the first 11 minutes of uninterrupted sitting. Things that most fitness content will never tell you in plain language, because the truth is inconvenient and the chair industry is enormous. We have been saying sitting is the new smoking for over a decade. We put it on posters, we nodded at it, and then we sat back down. In 2026, the data is not letting us nod anymore. My name is Dr. Aris Thorne, and today I'm handing you 5 movements rooted in 200,000 years of ancestral movement science that act as a biological undo button for everything your desk is quietly doing to you. We are going to go through all 5. Each one builds on the last. And the 5th one, I'm going to make you wait for it, because when you understand what that movement predicts about your longevity, it will be the one that actually changes your behavior. Stay with me all the way through. Let us get into it. Let me take you somewhere first. Roughly 10,000 years ago, before agriculture, before architecture, before the concept of an office, the human body lived inside what movement researchers call a loaded movement spectrum. Every single day, crouching low to forage, sprinting across open ground, climbing, twisting, carrying weight over uneven terrain, resting in a deep squat rather than a flat surface. The human spine was never designed for one position. It was designed to cycle through dozens of them, fluidly, continuously, from the moment a person woke up until they lay down to sleep. Now hold that picture. Hold it. And now look at the average knowledge worker in 2026 who sits for approximately 9.5 hours per day. I know my audience. Many of you are sitting longer than that. You're ambitious. You're building something. You're the person who gets up early, who does the work, who doesn't make excuses. And that same drive, that same hunger, it's the thing keeping you in the chair for hours at a time, because you are getting things done. And the chair, unfortunately, does not announce what it is taking from you in exchange. Here is what is actually happening inside your body right now while you work. When you sit, your body reads that as a rest state requiring no significant metabolic output. So your nervous system does what any intelligent, efficient system does. It begins powering down the processes it doesn't immediately need. And the first thing that goes offline is also the most important thing in your entire musculoskeletal system, your glutes, the largest, most powerful muscles in the human body, the foundation of your posterior chain, the primary drivers of hip extension, spinal stability, and athletic force production. Within 8 minutes of sitting, electromyography studies show that gluteal activation drops to near zero, not reduced, near zero. But that's only the beginning, because your vascular system is also responding. Blood flow to your lower extremities decreases. The endothelial cells lining your arteries, the cells that produce nitric oxide to keep your vessels supple and open, they stop doing their job. Prolonged sitting is now directly linked to endothelial dysfunction. That's the same underlying mechanism behind coronary artery disease. The same one. Not similar, the same. And then there's the metabolic collapse that nobody in mainstream fitness is talking about loudly enough. Lipoprotein Lipase, LPL. Write it down, because LPL might be the most important metabolic enzyme you've never heard of. LPL lives in the capillaries of your muscle tissue. Its entire job is to pull circulating fat, the triglycerides, the free fatty acids floating through your bloodstream, and convert them into fuel for your muscles. LPL is your body's primary fat-clearing engine. When you're standing, walking, moving, LPL is working continuously. It's cleaning your bloodstream. It's keeping your cardiovascular system clear. It is is doing exactly what your body was designed to do. When you sit down, LPL activity collapses by up to 90% within the first hour. Not 10, not 30, 90, which means the fat your body was supposed to burn is now simply circulating, accumulating, slowly building up in places it was never meant to go. And here's the part that should genuinely disturb you if you take your training seriously. The hour you spent lifting this morning, the very stimulus that caused your body to release fatty acids into your bloodstream to be burned as fuel, those fatty acids now have nowhere to go if you sit back down immediately. Your gym session primed the pump, and your chair jammed the drain. This is not a discipline problem. This is not a motivation problem. This is a fundamental biological mismatch between the environment your body was built for and the environment modern productivity demands you live in, and the signals it sends you, the stiffness when you stand, the fog that rolls in around 2 in the afternoon, the dull ache at the base of your spine that you've started to think of as just part of getting older. Those are not inconveniences. Those are distress signals. And I'm about to give you the protocol to answer them. But before we get to the 5 movements, I need to tell you about one more thing that's happening inside your body while you sit. Because once you understand this, you will never be able to unsee it. It's called gluteal amnesia. Gluteal amnesia. That's the actual clinical term, and I love it because it's surgical in its precision. It's not that your glutes are simply getting weaker the way a muscle weakens from disuse. It's that they are neurologically forgetting to fire. Here's the mechanism. When you sit, you lock your hips into chronic flexion, a closed, shortened position for hours at a stretch. Your hip flexors, specifically the iliopsoas, adapt to that shortened state. They get comfortable there. They start to pull. And in response, your nervous system does something logical but catastrophic. It begins to down-regulate the antagonist muscles, your glutes, your hamstrings, to reduce the perceived tension in the system. Your nervous system is not trying to hurt you. It genuinely believes you live in a chair, so it has optimized your body for the chair. It has reorganized your neuromuscular firing patterns around the seated position. And the result?
You go to train, you load a barbell. You go to deadlift or squat or sprint, and your glutes simply do not show up the way they should. Your lower back compensates, your knees track inward, your spine loads unevenly, and you get hurt doing something that should make you stronger, and you cannot understand why because you are doing everything right. It is not your program. It is your chair. And beyond performance, because I know many of you are here for something bigger than athletic output, this matters for your life, for your ability to move with freedom and power at 60, at 70, at 80. Your glutes are the primary stabilizers of the entire posterior chain. When they go offline, the compensation cascade moves upward through your lumbar spine into your intervertebral discs, which are already being compressed and dehydrated by the forward-flexed seated posture. And that is why lower back pain is now the single most common cause of disability on Earth. Not because people stopped going to the gym, because they never stopped sitting. And this is the moment right here where what we build at Primal Unleash separates from everything else you will find in the fitness space. Modern life makes us soft. We know that. We say that. We live that truth at the foundation of everything we do here. But Primal movement makes us unbreakable, not because it makes us look a certain way, not because it burns a certain number of calories, but because it restores the biological architecture that 200,000 years of human evolution spent building, and that the last 100 years of modern comfort have been quietly dismantling. The 5 movements I'm about to give you are not exercises someone invented in a laboratory. They are not protocols designed in a clinical setting. They are the exact movement patterns the human body performed every single day for the entirety of our species' existence before anyone told us to sit down and be productive. We do not just lift weights here. We reclaim our nature. Your nature is fighting to come back to you right now. Let us meet it halfway. The first movement is the deep squat. If there is a single movement that separates a biologically thriving body from a biologically deteriorating one in 2026, this is it. Not the bench press, not the deadlift. The ability to sit in a full, unassisted, resting deep squat, heels flat on the floor, hips below parallel, spine long, for 60 seconds without falling over. In populations that have maintained ancestral movement patterns, parts of Southeast Asia, Sub-Saharan Africa, rural South America, People squat to rest, squat to work, squat to have conversations. Rates of hip arthritis, lumbar degeneration, and knee pathology in these populations are a fraction of what we see in chair-dominant Western societies. This is not coincidence. This is not genetics. This is the direct consequence of a movement pattern that keeps the hip joint cycling through its full range of motion every single day. The deep squat does several things at once that no isolated gym exercise can replicate. It decompresses your lumbar discs, allowing the nucleus pulposus, the gelatinous center of each disc, to rehydrate and recenter. It activates your intrinsic core stabilizers, the deep muscles that no amount of crunches will ever reach. It restores full mobility through the hip joint, and it lengthens the Achilles tendon and posterior ankle chain that modern footwear has progressively shortened. Your prescription is simple. Every hour you spend sitting, you spend 60 seconds in a deep squat. Use a door frame or a strap to support yourself at first. Lower yourself slowly. Breathe. Over weeks, the mobility comes back. Over months, the squat becomes as natural as standing. And the research on this is not ambiguous. People who can get down to the floor and back up without assistance live measurably longer than those who cannot. That is not a fitness statistic. That is a survival statistic. The second movement is the active hang. Now we go up. While your lower body breaks down under the compression of prolonged sitting, your upper body is running its own silent crisis. The forward head creep, the internally rotated shoulders, the collapsed thoracic curve. These are not posture problems. They are the structural consequences of arms that never go above your head for hours at a time. The human shoulder was built to hang, to reach, to bear load overhead. The rotator cuff and the labrum of the shoulder joint depend on overhead loading to maintain their structural integrity. Without it, the shoulder capsule tightens, impingement develops, the chronic neck stiffness and upper trapezius tension that knowledge workers have normalized as just how their body feels. That is the result of a shoulder that has forgotten what it was built to do. The active hang is the antidote. Find a bar, a sturdy door frame, a tree branch, a beam. Your ancestors did not have a pull-up bar. They had the world, and you can too. Grip it, let your body decompress, but actively pull your shoulder blades down and back. Don't just dangle passively. That active engagement is what drives the thoracic vertebrae open, creates spinal traction through the lumbar region, and lengthens the lats that chronic sitting has turned into tight cables pulling your spine into flexion. Start with 20 to 30 seconds. Build to 60. Do this every hour alongside your deep squat. Together, those two movements alone address approximately 70% of the structural damage that a sedentary day work inflicts. But we're not done. The third movement is the rotational reach. This is where we begin the active rehabilitation of the hip flexors, not by stretching them passively, which feels good but accomplishes relatively little, but by loading them through the full range of motion they've been denied.
The lunge, performed as a moving transition, not a static hold, does something that no other movement achieves as efficiently. It takes your hip from full extension on the trailing leg, a position that chronic sitting has essentially erased from your movement vocabulary, all the way through to full flexion on the lead leg. That full spectrum cycle reactivates your proprioceptive receptors throughout your hip capsule. It tells your nervous system at a level beneath conscious thought, this joint is alive. This joint is capable. This joint is cleared for use. The arms go overhead as you sink into the lunge. This is intentional. Overhead arm position during a lunge forces thoracic extension, the exact opposite of the thoracic flexion that sitting creates, while simultaneously challenging your balance and your hip stability. Your nervous system has to integrate multiple sensory inputs at once, and that neurological demand is exactly the kind of complexity that keeps the brain adaptive, responsive, and biologically young. 5 to 8 alternating lunges per side. Pause at the bottom. Feel the hip flexor of the back leg open. Feel the glute of the front leg wake up as you press back to standing. Your hips carry a very long memory. The movement pattern is encoded in your DNA. It may take a few weeks to call it back, but it is there. It has always been there. The fifth movement is the one I promised you, the grounded get-up. And after everything we have covered today, I want you to understand why this movement matters at a level that goes beyond fitness. The movement itself is almost insultingly simple.
You sit on the floor, you lie down, and you get back up to standing without using your hands. That is it. No equipment, no coaching cue more complicated than get up. But what getting up from the floor without assistance demands of your body is extraordinary. Full hip mobility, full ankle mobility, integrated core function, spinal stability under a load, rotational strength, balance and proprioception, upper and lower body coordination. If any one of those systems has gone offline, and after months or years of chronic sitting, most of them have to varying degrees, you will feel it the moment you try this movement. You will wobble, you will compensate, you will reach instinctively for something to hold. And here's why that matters beyond the movement itself. A landmark study in the European Journal of Preventive Cardiology followed over 2,000 adults between ages of 51 and 80. The researchers measured each participant's ability to sit on the floor and stand back up without using their hands, and then they tracked what happened to those people over the next 6 years. The results were stark. Each additional point of difficulty in performing this movement, each hand, knee, or forearm that participants needed as support, correlated with a measurable increase in all-cause mortality over that 6-year window. The people who could not get up from the floor were significantly more likely to die during the study period than those who could. And the people who could do it fluidly, without any assistance, had survival rates that were strikingly better. This is not a fitness test. This is a biological window. The ability to get up from the floor is a real-time readout of your integrated health of your entire neuromuscular system, and unlike a blood panel or a body composition scan, it is available to you right now, in the next 30 seconds, completely free. Can you do it? If not, we start there, not at the gym, not on a machine, on the floor, reclaiming the most fundamental of all human movements, the ability to rise from the ground under your own power. Perform 5 grounded get-ups during each hourly movement break, down and back up 5 times. Within 30 days, something will shift, not just in how your hips move or how your spine loads, but in how you carry yourself, in how you feel during a workday, in the quiet confidence that comes from knowing your body can do what a human body was built to do. Now, let me address something, because I know exactly what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, I work in an open plan office, I have 6 consecutive meetings on Tuesdays, I cannot get on the floor next to my standing desk while my colleagues watch me. And I hear you, this is real. So let me tell you exactly how this protocol works in the real world, not as an ideal, but as a system that fits inside the life you actually have. Every 55 minutes, you take 5 minutes. That's your window. Set an alarm. Name it something that means something to you. When it fires, you move. You cycle through 2 or 3 of the 5 movements. You rotate through the full 5 across the course of a day so that by the time you log off, you hit each one at least twice. If you're in an office, a stairwell works. A quiet corridor works. An empty meeting room before anyone else arrives works. These movements are silent. They require nothing. Nobody needs to know what you're doing. And within 6 weeks, the people around you will start asking why you seem different, more focused, less stiff, more present in the room. That's not coincidence. That's biology operating the way it was designed to. Add one more layer on top of this if you want to accelerate the results. For every 2 hours of seated work, build in one 20-minute block where you work standing, not at a standing desk, actually standing, tablet in hand, walking through a document, pacing as you think through a problem. There is a reason that Darwin walked 10,000 steps a day while working, that Churchill dictated entire speeches on his feet, that some of the most productive thinkers in the history of ideas insisted on moving while they thought. The phrase, "I do my best thinking on my feet," is not a personality trait, it's neuroscience. Walking and standing activate the prefrontal cortex in ways that seated stillness suppresses. Your brain is not designed to do its best work while you're sitting still. It never was. The hourly reset and the standing work block together. That's the silverback standard. Not soft, not convenient, not the path of least resistance. Unbreakable. Now, let me tell you what you're actually building when you commit to this, because everything we have covered so far has been about defense, about stopping the damage, about undoing what the chair does. What I want you to understand in these last few minutes is what this practice builds going forward. Because here's where the protocol moves from protective to transformative. Every time you perform one of these movements during your workday, your brain releases a protein called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF. Researchers sometimes call it miracle growth of the brain, and the name is accurate. BDNF stimulates the growth of new neurons. It strengthens synaptic connections. It's the primary biological driver of what neuroscientists call cognitive plasticity, your brain's ability to learn new things, make sharp decisions, adapt under pressure, and maintain high performance over long periods. The most powerful known stimulus for BDNF release in the human body is not a supplement, is not a breathing protocol, is not a cold shower. It is compound, multi-joint physical movement, exactly what we have been building today.
Research from the University of British Columbia found that regular movement exercise increases the volume of the hippocampus, the brain structure responsible for memory and learning, by measurable amounts. And more relevant to your workday, even brief movement breaks during long sedentary periods produced BDNF spikes that lasted 60 to 90 minutes after the movement stopped. This means your 5-minute reset at 10 in the morning is giving you a neurological advantage that carries you to 11. Your reset at 11 carries you to noon. You are not just protecting your joints and your metabolism, you are building a brain that performs at a higher level all day, every day, because you are giving it the one stimulus it was evolved to need. And the hormonal picture is equally significant. Prolonged sitting measurably elevates cortisol, the primary stress hormone. In short bursts, cortisol is useful. It sharpens focus, mobilizes energy. But the chronic low-grade cortisol elevation that sedentary work combined with deadline pressure produces creates a biological environment that suppresses testosterone, degrades insulin sensitivity, accelerates cellular aging at the level of your telomeres, and compromises the immune system's ability to clear inflammation. Breaking that sedentary cycle with primal movement interrupts the cortisol signal. It tells your hypothalamic pituitary axis that the body is safe, capable, and resourced. Testosterone normalizes. Dopamine pathways become more responsive. The 2 o'clock crash that you have accepted as inevitable, that is not your natural rhythm. That is a cortisol-suppressed, LPO-collapsed glute amnesiac body telling you it has had enough of the chair. You now have the tools to answer that signal differently. And the long game? Because this has always been about the long game in Primal Unleash. The long game here is remarkable. People who maintain primal movement capacity throughout their lives, who can squat to the floor, hang from a bar, get up without using their hands, move through a full range of motion with strength and ease, they are not just fitter than their peers, they are biologically younger. Their inflammatory markers are lower, their telomeres are longer, their cognitive decline curves are measurably flatter. Their independence, their ability to move through the world entirely on their own terms, persists years, sometimes decades longer than their sedentary peers. This was never about the gym. It was never about a program or a number on the scale or a performance metric. It is about reclaiming the movement inheritance that 200,000 years of human evolution built for you, and that the last century of modern comfort has been slowly taking away. That inheritance belongs to you. It is encoded in your biology, and every single time you get out of the chair and move the way a human body was designed to move, you are taking it back. So here's your challenge for today. Not next week, not when your schedule opens up. Today, you are going to replace one sitting hour with 5 minutes of movement from the protocol we just built together. Pick 2 of the 5. Do them slowly. Give them your full attention. Feel what they ask of your body. Notice where your mobility has gone quiet. And then go back to your desk and pay attention to what happens in the next hour. Notice the lift, the clarity that comes back into the space behind your eyes, the absence of the dull ache at your lower back that you have so quietly and completely accepted as normal that you stopped noticing it was there. Notice that you return to your work with more of yourself intact than you brought it to it. That is what this practice gives you, not someday, today. Because the silverback standard is not a destination, it's not a fitness goal or a body composition target. It is a daily, deliberate choice to refuse the softness that modern life offers so conveniently and so relentlessly. Every time you choose to move when sitting is easier, you are making that choice. Every time you get down on the floor and get back up, you are making that choice. You are choosing your biology over your comfort, your vitality over your convenience, your future over what feels easy right now. Modern life makes us soft,
Primal movement makes us unbreakable. We do not just lift weights here, we reclaim our nature. If this gave you something real today, a shift in how you understand your body, a protocol you can actually use, a truth that is going to follow you back to your desk, hit that like button right now. Share this with one person in your life who needs to hear it. The people you care enough about to share this with, they need this information. Subscribe to Primal Unleashed if you're not already here, because the next video is going to be the morning protocol. I'm going to build you a complete 20-minute ancestral movement session designed to be done before your workday begins, one that addresses the specific biological stiffness and neurological suppression that accumulates overnight, so that you start every single day having already told your body, I am not prey, I am the silverback. That one drops soon, and if you stay subscribed, you won't miss it. I'm Dr. Aris Thorne. I'll see you in the next one.